Well, first of all, guys, thanks a lot for being here with us. Obviously, Sean, this news kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of your fans, a lot of people that follow you. Just initially kind of describe what the reaction has been from people after they saw this news that your wife posted on social media.
Well, I mean, honestly, RJ, originally when my wife posted the videos, it was just kind of just to raise awareness about staying on top of your health. We are Methodist health ambassadors, and so we just wanted to let people know, hey, this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody, but my wife always likes to poke a little fun at me, and so she had me while I was kind of sedated, and then she had me at home, after she served me a big meal. But it kind of went, it took on a life of its own. It's just, it's something that was totally unexpected. And so actually yesterday she had to put out another video to say, hey, he's just fine. Sean's, he's not going anywhere. He's just fine. Matter of fact, he's more pain in the butt than he's ever been. Pray for his golf game, not for his heart. And so, it was really, really unexpected. But I'd rather, I think, have that, RJ, have people concerned about me than not.
So before we kind of get into your all's relationship a little bit, so kind of describe a little, what exactly were you noticing from your Apple Watch? I know you said that if you can just go ahead and tell us about people reaching out to you and saying that, you know what, they're now going to maybe get an Apple Watch.
Yeah, I've gotten a few texts
so
like,
how
I'm
did that
going to
even
get one
start?
now.
What was it?
Well, I mean, my watch kept telling me you're in atrial fibrillation. They just kept telling me over and over again. And I said, there's no way, I feel fine. I mean, I don't feel anything in my chest. Had no symptoms at all. And so I just, for the first couple days, 4 or 5 days, I just blew it off. But one morning it just was really adamant and told me 2 or 3 times. And I said, okay, I'm gonna call Dr. Triana. And I texted him and I said, hey, Doc, my Apple Watch tells me I'm an AFib. And he says, get in here right away for an EKG. He actually called me and said, hey, I need you to come in and just come right to the back and we're gonna run EKG. And sure enough, I was an AFib.
So Dr. Triano, what prompted you to just kind of make sure that you relayed that message to Sean that he's got to get in as soon as possible?
Well, Sean is such a nice guy. He has my telephone number, but he calls me about every 4 or 5 years for something. But that day he called and said the Apple Watch is sending this message. And these days, with these new wearable devices that are able to detect things that are happening with our body, how much we sleep, how fast we're blinking, how much we're moving, how many steps, this is specific algorithm for detection of an arrhythmia, in this case atrial fibrillation, is fairly accurate. So when he called me, and I get several calls of this per month, it's very easy for me to make the decision is come over. This is not a medical device what you have in your wrist, but it could detect atrial fibrillation. I need to make sure that you're okay. So sure enough, I told him, come over, we'll do an EKG, and 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 is really, really imperative that we detect the arrhythmia. And in Sean's case, we did the EKG, he was in atrial fibrillation, and then we went to work, and we did the standard things. Sounds like a lot of just action from my part, but it was really Sean and his watch. He made the diagnosis, I just confirmed it, and then we proceeded with the treatment.
So AFib, for people that may not be aware of it, what are just kind of the general symptoms, causes of it, and really some of the dangers that come along with it?
Sure. Atrial fibrillation, and we call it for short AFib, is probably the most common irregularity of the heartbeat in the United States. Probably 8 to 9 million Americans live with chronic atrial fibrillation. And there are just a couple of flavors, paroxysmal atrial fibrillation and chronic atrial fibrillation, which is established. Paroxysmal comes and goes. And the heart has 2 upper chambers and 2 lower chambers. The 2 upper chambers are called the atrium, and the 2 lower chambers, the ventricles. In this case, for atrial fibrillation, the upper chambers start quivering and sending beats, not in the regular way, which is about 1 beat per second, 60 beats per minute, but probably 180 all the way to 300 micro beats, and irregular, and not really very well mechanically sound as the normal beats. Because of that, the transmission of those beats into the lower chambers is irregular. But here's the key. Atrial fibrillation, because of the irregularity of the atrium as it's trying to contract, promotes a blood flow that is not as regular as the regular beat, as the normal beat that is happening in the atrium. And because of that, the emptying of that chamber promotes some stagnation of blood in the upper chamber. And as the blood stays there for seconds or sometimes minutes at a time without circulating properly, then there is a propensity to form blood clots. And once blood clots are accumulated in the atrium, specifically in some specific areas in the left atrium, then there is the possibility of forming blood clots, and that is a problem. Because once the blood clot is formed in that chamber, it goes into the other chambers of the heart, and it has the possibility of traveling to the body. And it may travel to a finger, it may travel to a toe, or it may travel to the brain. So in the cases when we identify atrial fibrillation, the arrhythmia itself is not a big deal. The big deal is, could the individual be prone to forming blood clots, and what can we do about it?
Very interesting, yeah. So, Sean, I know you've done a lot of work with kidney disease, obviously your work there over the past couple of decades, but why was it important, even though you've been getting a lot of messages, a lot of calls about your health and your well-being, why was it important for you to sit down with us and talk about this as well? I know you said you're ambassadors for the hospital system, but talk about that in for you.
Well, I mean, I just, I hope that it brings a human element to the story. And so people realize that if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. I mean, RJ, I try to eat the right way. I work out 4 or 5 days a week. I'm still fairly active. And so I do the best that I can to take care of myself, but still I do have difficulties from time to time. And so, again, that's why we kind of put the reel out there kind of in a good-natured way, just to let people know, hey, be on top of it. And I will say, with all these texts and calls that I've gotten, I had a lot of guys, former players in the NBA, reach out and say, hey, I hope you're doing okay. And I was able just to relay to them back that Dr. Triana told me this is common in retired athletes. Stay on top of it. Go get yourself checked, or make sure you're not an AFib like I was. Again, I had absolutely no idea.
So was that, how surprising was that when you spoke with the doctor, maybe got a diagnosis on that, and then realized that you maybe had to have this procedure? Just what kind of went through your
I
mind?
was really surprised. I really was. I feel like I do everything to take care of myself, but it's just an anomaly. It's something that happens, and thank goodness I was wearing my watch, because imagine going a month or two with AFib and not knowing it, because it wasn't going away once it was diagnosed. So they had to do something about it. But if I go a month or two and have no idea that I'm in AFib the whole time, then my chances of getting a blood clot, having a stroke, go up incrementally.
Thing that's going to change from your daily routine now, or is it more just kind of getting regular checkups, EKGs of that nature? Are you still going to be able to eat? I know you're a big foodie, man.
Yeah, I'm a big foodie. I do my EKG every day on my phone, on my watch, by the way. I can do it on my watch. I do it like 2 or 3 times a day just to check, because I'm so paranoid now. I trust medical science. Obviously with a kidney transplant, I'm living, breathing proof of what medical technology can do for you. And now with this situation and how well they took care of me, I can't tell you. I've said before, I'm a little embarrassed because the procedure was so easy for me, and they made it so easy for me that I'm going to trust in everything and put myself in their hands, under their care, and I'll be just fine.
Yeah, so we'll talk to Dr. Triana's daughter here in a bit, just a little bit about the procedure, but what was it like for you then? So you said that you went in, it was for the most part relatively not very painful at all. For people that may be concerned if something comes up where they may have AFib symptoms of that nature and they're worried about maybe getting an invasive type of procedure, what was it like for you?
I would say don't be worried at all. You're going to have better peace of mind after the procedure's done. I remember them giving me some anesthetic, and I said, oh yeah, I feel that. And the next thing you know, I woke up and everybody's out of the room. I said, wait, where did everybody go? And they said, you're done. that's how easy it was. And I was home that night. At the end of that reel, my wife Claudia is bringing me a big giant plate of chicken because I wasn't allowed to eat all day and I was starving. And so I was back to normal. I played golf the next day. So don't take a chance with your health. You know, I just think that a lot of people put things off when it comes to their health, and there's no reason for it.
Right, absolutely. So real quick, guys, if you could talk about your relationship a little bit. I know we're talking a little bit off camera. So Dr. Triana, you've been his cardiologist for a few years now, to say the least. Just kind of describe a little bit of the relationship and kind of how you guys have built up that trust over these years.
You know, being a physician is a great privilege, but one of the greatest privileges to become friends with your patients. And at this stage of my career, after having done this for about 25, 30 years, I have, every visit with my patients is like a little bit of a re-encounter of how are you doing, how are the kids, and did you take that trip to the coast, or did you do this, did you learn how to cook chicken the way you want, are you doing any barbecuing? So with Sean, we're friends, really. We are developing, and we continue to develop this relationship where he's not just tense when he comes to the office, where I'm happy to see him. And again, something that is a great privilege of the art of being a physician. And I feel that he's my friend and that he trusts my advice. And just I couldn't say enough about the beautiful journey of being a physician and being more just than someone who is giving advice and checking out, checking in. So that's it.
Dr. Triana, he's got the best bedside manner ever. I mean, he's just the nicest,
important.
easiest going guy. You know, it could be probably a major crisis, and he's going to make you feel, you know, easy and good about it. So I've never once, when I've been in his office, or have I felt any kind of stress or felt like I had to go somewhere else. I knew that I was going to get good, straightforward answers in a really kind and communicative way.
I mean, who else would be like, hey, Sean, we need you in right away, and you're right there, right?
Yeah, easy.
Absolutely. Doctor, what was it like, I mean, for you to be able to have your daughter perform this procedure on Sean?
Yeah, let me just talk a little bit about that, because this is, it makes it sound like I did a lot of things that are extraordinary, but there are hundreds of cardiologists in the city identifying people like Sean today and doing what I did. So it's really part of my job. What is really important to emphasize here is that I am just one individual in a large team. And in the Methodist healthcare system, we have the ability to have, within the very localized spaces, the great privilege to interact with physicians that are complementary to what we do. So fundamentally, I identify the arrhythmia, but then I call people who know much more than me, like the electrophysiologist, Dr. Fernando Contreras, who specializes just at a great level in atrial fibrillation, is able to perform curative procedures within atrial fibrillation. And we also contacted our imaging specialist. She just happens to be related to me. She's my daughter. We recruited her the last couple of years to specifically address issues like this, because in the imaging expert has to go and determine that there are no blood clots already formed in the heart with a procedure that is called a transesophageal echocardiography. And once that is established, that there are no clots that could be displaced, then it's shock is delivered. The patient is anesthetized and they don't feel anything. So what I'm conveying to you then is the sense of team. Yeah, working with my daughter is one of the greatest privileges of my life. She's just a superbly trained cardiologist. She left San Antonio about 14 years ago. We're lucky we were able to recruit her. She had many offers to go to academic centers. She has a very high level of training, specifically on cardiovascular imaging. And it's just, this is one of the examples where we're able to interact.
That's great stuff. So Sean, you'll be back on the course, man. You're already on. We're on the course.
Yes.
You're good to go. Back calling Spurs games this upcoming season.
Yeah, my game suffered a little bit, but I don't care.
I was going to say, will that improve any by this?
Yeah, we'll see. That's a crazy game, but I'm just thrilled to be healthy right now, and really looking forward to next year, because there are going to be great things to come. I promise you that.
And then anything else that, again, any final words that you like to say to your fans, followers, your wives that are on your wife's Instagram page, and all the well wishes that have been extended to you?
I mean, I really appreciate the outpouring of love and support. I mean, I really do. I like I said, I was just a little embarrassed because I was getting all this attention, and I really didn't do anything. But if something good comes of it, then I'm happy. And if somebody calls or they have AFib and they figure out that they have it, and it helps them from falling into a bad situation, then I'm pleased.
Yeah, turned it into a positive for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, guys, thank you very much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.